Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, Minister Park Stau, says government is consolidating partnerships with other countries in a bid to enhance South African trade and investment relations. This is to mitigate the impact of the 30% tariff imposed by the US. Stau says government is pursuing markets in Asia, the Middle East and India as their growing demands, existing negotiations and a positive reception to South African products. He says this is a move directly linked to job protection and the engagements with the US remain ongoing.
We are committed to strengthening our relationship, particularly under the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, to build regional resilience. We'll continue to work with the FCFTA and other countries as we ensure that we consolidate partnerships, including our European partners, towards enhancing our trade and investment relations in a manner that unlocks sustainable growth and development and entrenches South Africa in new supply chains. We're looking at Asia, including Japan, Vietnam and Thailand, the Middle East and India. We are pursuing these markets because we see growing demand, existing negotiations, and a positive reception to South African products. This is not just about trade numbers. It is directly linked to job protection. Diversification is about protecting rural livelihoods and sustainable agricultural growth for our people. To achieve this, government is deploying dedicated infrastructure for market expansion, including trade and agricultural attaches, increased export certification capacity, and a concerted effort to align our biosecurity standards with the requirements of these new markets. A high-level negotiating team, including both the DTIC and the Department of Agriculture, has been identified and is ready to engage the US towards a mutually beneficial agreement. Our goal is to demonstrate that South African exports do not pose a threat to US industries and that our trade relationship is in fact complementary. While the US is our third largest trading partner after the EU and China, South Africa is the 43rd export destination for the US and accounts for 0.25% of total US imports and is therefore not a threat to US production.
Minister of Agriculture John Steenhuisen says South African trade with the United States poses no threat to American production. Steenhuisen says the recent US tariffs imposed on South Africa, Brazilian and Indian goods are not only based on balancing trade, but indicates issues that go beyond tariffs. He says the world is experiencing a new era in which tariffs are being used to deal with issues outside of what would be generally trade concerns.
I do want to make this one point, which I think is very important, and that is that trade with the US also benefits the United States of America. Many of our products are counter-seasonal, so they pose no threat whatsoever to US production. And when it comes to citrus, both the pricing and the quality of the South African offering, given the exchange rate difference and given the incredibly high levels of and quality of production in South Africa, ensures that what lands in the United States is incredibly high products that benefit US consumers and benefit US agro processors. And I think that the US gets a good deal from South African agriculture. And it really, I think, will be a shame if we see a drop-off in these excellent quality products not being able to land in those areas. I also think that it is very clear now that these tariffs are not just around balancing trade. We've seen in a number of the letters that have been sent to various other countries, most notably Brazil and India recently, that these things go beyond just tariffs. And I think we're seeing some form of new era now where trade and tariffs are being used to deal with other issues outside of what would generally be trade concerns. And this is obviously a new normal to which we're going to all have to adapt. And as Minister Tau said, this is not something unique to South Africa. We have over 130 other partners around the world who are facing similar issues. we're also seeing that those countries are starting to come together to replace markets that have been lost. I shared last week with Minister Tau a deal that's been signed, for instance, between Brazil, who've been slapped with a 50% tariff, and Japan for the provision of beef. And I think we're going to see a lot of that diversification taking place. We are committed, as Minister Tau said, to diversification, and we're looking at extensive new markets where we believe that with the diversification we're never overexposed on any one particular market, which ensure that we're able to sustain ourselves and our trade going forward